let's talk about track droppers. Now, bearing in mind that I am DCC, not DC, so this video is all about track droppers for DCC. I'm just going to go over the equipment that I use for my track dropping. Track dropping? Anyway. For most of it, as you realise, we have to have a bus, a power bus that runs around our layout to feed the power and information, the DCC control information, to each and every loco or accessory decoder that you may have. And those of you who run a large loop, as I did previously on my outside layout, if you rely on fish plates, well, over time they do stretch. I guess with the contraction and expansion that we get in warmer weathers, they can then become loose, and then you get intermittent connection problems between your track. Now, to eliminate that, you do a few things. The main thing is wire up track droppers for each and every piece of track that you have on your layout, and that's exactly what I've done. My layout does have some insulating joints in certain places if I want to run block detection, and mainly for the electrofrogs. But this is what I'm currently using on my layout. I have pretty much standard 1602 wire. So that's 16 strands of 0.2mm wire, and I'm running black and red. For me, I always have the black on the track at the back, black at the back, that makes most sense to me, and the red is always on the front. So as I'm on a loop, all the track that faces outwards is black, all the inner stuff is red. I also use many different types of devices to connect up, but my main one for connecting to my bus are these little things just here. These are nice and simple. You wrap them around the wire, you pinch them together, and you use a big pair of pliers, and that just there then basically cuts the wire, cuts the outer sheath, and makes the connection. And then you use a crimping tool, which is this over here on the orange, to connect your dropper from the track into this, and you crimp it. It's a relatively straightforward process. It's a little bit tiresome when you're doing it from underneath a baseboard, and that's why I decided to change my method. The reason I'm changing it is because where you get neck ache, arm ache, and everything else when you're trying to do lots of crimping and stripping and everything else that's underneath the board. And as it happened, I came across something on YouTube, which was these little devices just here. Now, what are they? Well, these are by Palatine Models. They are some etched pieces of very fine metal. You can solder them to the bottom of your track, and then you solder a wire after the fact. And that's what my plan is with these, is to do exactly that. One last piece of equipment that I use on top of that is this wire stripper. It's meant to be automated. It's not hugely expensive. It's maybe not the greatest, but it is quite useful because you can change the length of the wire you want to strip from the end, and you just clamp it in and pull, and it does it. There's also a little set of snips just down here if you want to cut some wire, but I tend to use my trusty set of wire cutters for that. So all in all, that's the equipment that I'm using, apart from, of course, a soldering iron, which you're going to see a bit later on. So here we are. I've got a few droppers here to do 2 pieces of track on my incline. The first thing, just work out how long the dropper wire needs to be. So I've got a bit of excess at the top there. I just need to snip it off and then trim the end a little bit. Using my trusty cheap strippers. There you go. Does a pretty good job, to be fair. Time to do a bit of tinning. I've just got to tin the end of this dropper, and also just tin the end of that little piece of metal as well. Doing this means that when you connect the two together with a bit of solder on it as well, it works really quickly. Apologies for my hand being in the way. But you can just see there, the tip of the dropper is now tinned, and there is a small amount of solder. So I haven't got asbestos fingers, so I'm going to use a little bit of a long nose pliers, and it should be done quite quickly. There you go, job done. And I shall repeat that on all of those droppers as well. You should be able to see how quick these join together when you've got a bit of solder on the end of the soldering iron as well. That's it. It's literally a touch. I'm running the soldering on about 450 degrees Celsius. So here is a close look at what those little devices look like whilst they're soldered in place under the track. And here is the finished product. All four put in, and obviously once they've ballasted over the top of them, you'll never see them. But they do make wiring up droppers nice and simple. If you've enjoyed the video, then do hit the like button, and if you're not a subscriber, then do please subscribe. And you can find me on Twitter and Facebook as well. Hope to see you again soon. Goodbye for now. Bye.